Yeah, hi Patrick.
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thanks. Firstly, I want to thank you for accepting my request and accepting to be on my show.
I appreciate the invitation.
So I have gone through your profile. You are into multiple fields, right? You are into direction. You are an author. You are a filmmaker, and you are a writer. So can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Sure. My name is Patrick Murphy. Uh, as our host said, I am a writer, an author, director, voice acting coach, uh, public speaking coach. So um, I started writing about, and I live here in Rockford, Illinois, in the United States. And I started writing about 5 years ago, and I'm continuously writing to get to the point where I'm ready to publish books, and I hope to have things out in the next uh, year or so, within the next year.
So what are the books that you have published? Before saying that, you didn't said where are you from?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Where are you from? Where do you live?
I live in Rockford, Illinois, in the United States.
Okay. So
Uh,
what are the books that you have published and what is it?
Currently, I have two short stories on Amazon. The first is called Thunder and Lightning, and the second is Doppelganger. Thunder and Lightning is about what happens when two young men meet for the first time, and the adverse reactions that they get from people around them. And then the doppelganger is about a young man who um, essentially becomes possessed by supernatural forces, and he succumbs to because of the possession.
So what happened after two young men meeting each other?
Um, well, you'd have to read the book to find out. I don't want to give away the ending, but needless to say, it's not necessarily a happy ending. But
Okay.
sometimes in life, we don't all have happy endings.
Yeah. So the second one that you said?
It's called Doppelganger. It's a horror book. Um, so it's looking at the psychological and physiological effects of demonic possession and how that manifests itself.
So these books are in market already?
Yes, they are out already. They were part of an anthology that I was a part of a few years ago, and I decided to take them and self-publish them myself.
So what is the response that you got for both of the books?
Um, from the people that have read them, they do like them. They think it's, both are an interesting look at the human condition. So it'd be nice to, get some more people to read them. So
So second one you said that it is mixed with the psychological things.
yes. So when the young man becomes possessed, you see a lot of the nightmarish imagery that is presented to him through because of the possession. So that's where you get a lot of the horror elements.
So when you started direction,
I started directing when I was in college, when I was in university. Um, I had a theater teacher who basically said, you're really good at organization and telling stories and getting things to be at that level. I think you should go in this direction. I think you should go into directing. And um, I haven't directed anything in the last couple of years just because of things going on, the pandemic and things like that. So, but before that, I did direct a few shows, and I've always loved it. It's telling a story, and that's part of why I like being a writer too. It's telling the story that you want to tell. So yes, directing is just taking somebody else's story and telling it, but you're using your elements of set design and lighting and costuming and character development to tell that same story.
So, what is a movie that you directed?
Um, I actually haven't directed too many any movies. I've mostly done theater work. Um, I think that has it's two different beasts. Um, film is very you do the same thing over and over again until you get the right shot, and and then you edit everything down and you make it look like professional and everything like that. Whereas anything can happen in live theater, and I've been in enough shows and I've seen enough shows that that is true that anything can happen. So I do kind of like that. I think a little bit better because of that element, because it's how seeing how actors and tech people react to something that's not supposed to happen kind of makes it fun, because then it's not predictable.
So, what is your full time job?
My full-time job is I work for a government agency that helps um, low-income families get their electricity turned back on if it goes out or things like that. So it pays the bills, but it's not what I want to do with the rest of my life. So
So, can you tell me more about it?
sure, it's it's called Community Action, and basically it's like I said, low-income families that qualify, that meet the income requirements, that meet some other requirements. We can get them assistance with their electricity bills. So we get them money put onto their accounts, to put onto their bills, to work as a credit for them, so that they can then use that to pay their bills for the next while.
Your position name?
I'm a clerk. I don't have an official position technically. Um, Basically, I intake a lot of people. I do a lot of the intake work. I get the basic information down, things like that.
So, you're already into that position and you're doing well. And what made you to become a writer, author, and wanted to start directing movies?
Well, like I said, go in college. My professor said I should look into directing, and I always wanted to be a director. I still want to be a director. And then the writing, I just like I said, I like telling the story that I have and making getting that out there, getting people to see that, and um, but at the same time, until you're actually well enough known, those don't pay exactly the best. So that's why I have my daytime job, is because I need to pay my bills myself. And right now, until I get more successful with writing and directing, those are just side jobs.
So, when you decided to write for the first time before 5 years, what exactly that the thought that came into your mind?
Well, I wanted to see some stories out there that I didn't think were out there as well. Um, and I felt that I had a voice to share. And so that's primarily why I felt like I felt like that I could make a good writing um, career eventually. I love to read. I've read thousands of books over my lifetime. So, I felt that I could take what I've read and, learn throughout my schooling and things like that to apply to writing.
What is your favorite book?
Um, I would have to say probably Harry Potter. The Harry Potter series in particular. I think because that really almost was the catalyst when I got started reading when I was younger. Um, so that was the one that I read, a lot of. I read all of the books when they first came out. I was reading all the books, and so I think that kind of helped form my love of reading, especially from a young age.
So direction. So what is the
Mm.
difference between writing and direction?
Well, for writing, that's you telling your story. Um, Directing is usually telling somebody else's story. Usually with a director, you are um, you're doing a play that somebody has also written, or you're doing a movie that somebody else has written. So it might not be your necessary story, but it's taking that and making it yours. Whereas writing is purely coming from inside you. So there are great directors slash writers who do everything. They write the complete script and then they go and direct it. So it's like, so they have full control over the telling of the story. Eventually, I would like to do that, but at this time, I think just getting my name out there more and will allow me to eventually do those things.
What is the difference that you observed between the thousands of authors uh, uh, through their books and when you comparing with them?
Um, I don't think I'm at the level of Stephen King or J.K. Rowling or any of those kind of authors yet, but eventually I do want to get there. But I've read some things that are online that are not very good. So I do feel like I'm better than some authors in that sense because I feel like that I do tell a good story. But it just takes time and practice, and I gotta just keep working at it and going towards that goal. So
So what drives you to write something?
um, usually it's I have the idea and I want to get it out there. I want to get it to other people to see, and so it just is like a fire burning inside me, and I want to get it out. I want to get it out of onto paper, onto the computer, onto whatever I need to get it to be out of me.
So what are the genres that you like and that you wanted to write?
Um, I really particularly like fantasy fiction. Um, that's primarily what I've read a lot of my life. But also noir, sci-fi, psychological kind of thrillers. So I read a lot. I read as much as I can, from any genre that I can. For me personally, I try to write, like I said, more fantasy stuff. So magic and wizards and witches and dragons and things of that nature.
So what is the best thing that you like in yourself?
Uh, Best thing I like in myself. I guess I would have to say that I'm pursuant. I will always try to go forward and do things, um, whether whether that's directing, whether that's writing, whatever that is. I'm always trying to push forward to the next thing. I'm trying to push to the next, to make myself do what I want to do. Make myself go through and learn new skills and learn new abilities and things like that.
What is your favorite movie and why?
Um, Favorite movies, I probably would have to say it's Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. from Quentin Tarantino. I particularly like that one, especially the first volume, because you see the different venues of storytelling. In that you have animation, you see black and white film, you see color film, you see hypercolored film. So it's kind of an interesting look at how to make movies, and I like that it's not a linear timeline. It jumps around back and forth from in the timeline, so you have to watch it to make sure that you're understanding where everything is. And then I like the idea of this hurt woman, going back after the people that hurt her. So I think that was an interesting dynamic to see in that type of movie.
So
Mm-hmm.
direction is completely different from writing books.
Yes, I would say so. Like I
Right.
said
So
before.
yeah. So what made you to become director from writer? Because you're already doing good job in writing. You're very good in expressing already. So what made you to come into direction and direct a movie? That is a management, right? So how good are you, and what are the things that attracted you to come into this?
Well, like I said before, it's the telling the story, and I like it. I have a very organized way of thinking about directing, and especially in theater, it's very much okay. We have to do X, Y, Z, in order. Let's follow the thinking. It's being analytical with list and things that um, need to happen in certain ways. And so when you when I look at a film, I can say, okay, I like how they are telling their story. Like I said before, that's what it boils down to, is telling your story. So I like seeing how to get an actor to that point of realization for their character, so that they can feel connected to their character. They can make it their own story that they're telling.
Are you good in expressing?
I feel that I am. I feel that I think about and understand a lot of the uh, human nature of life, and how we show that through either writing or directing. I feel that I can get somebody to feel the same things that my characters are feeling in my stories, or get somebody to feel what the actors are portraying on stage or on screen.
So how you create characters and how you inject emotions in them?
Um, I create characters by looking at things that have happened in my life, things that I've read before, things that I've seen on, things that I've watched in film and in theater, um, and injecting emotions in them. I try to let the audience into the mind of the character by um, using the proper adjectives and adverbs that will allow them to express themselves. If you write John screamed at, I think people will understand what that emotion is. That he's angry, and that he's expressing his anger through his use of his screaming at somebody. So
So what kind of response that you got for the work that you did as a director?
um, I had a pretty good response. Most of the critics that came to see shows that I've done, they do like them. I've typically gone for more um, gritty shows, more dark, and showing the underlying, you know, human tragedy. One show that I directed was about a mother who killed her 5 children, and so it was definitely a so it was received well because I got, especially the young actor who was playing one of the children, I got them to really kind of connect with the audience, and um, so their critics did like that a lot because they did get to see um, a different side of the human experience.
Is there anything in the movie that you cannot understand till today?
Um, Not that I can think of. I feel like, especially mainstream movies, they kind of repeat the same stories a lot, and so I feel like, um, I feel like I could watch a preview, especially for a mainstream movie, and kind of go, okay, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. So, um, it does make it a little boring sometimes, I guess, because, like I said, I feel that I know if I know X, Y, and Z are gonna happen, why am I sitting here watching the movie? You know, um, and usually I'm pretty correct. I've seen enough films in my life that like I said, I can name out the points and have them be right. So,
What is movie to you?
movie to me is well, anything that's in a film. So if anything that's a action on film that is then or and then played back. And that's taking the scenes and editing them down and making them the correct way and putting them into the right order and just then telling the story through the visual medium.
Who is your favorite director?
I would say probably um, either Martin Scorsese or maybe even Quentin Tarantino. I do like his work a lot. I've seen all his movies, so
So, as a director, what you learned from them?
um, from Scorsese, I would say it's kind of bigger is better, because his movies are always seem to be very um, large pieces in its terms as far as sets or as far as characters and actors and everyone working together to create a movie. Um, so, but it's also no small parts because it's anyone that's in a Scorsese movie, they're in it for a reason. They're in it to, you know, convey a certain character and convey a certain thing that Scorsese is looking for. As far as Tarantino, I think because he's kind of he goes outside the norms of movie making. He's not doing the same movie every time, and he's not presenting it in the same way. As I said before with Kill Bill, you're not getting a linear story. You're going back and forth and seeing other events and seeing things like that. So it makes it more avant-garde and makes it more of an independent film at that level. Um, and I kind of like that because then it's not, like I said, it's not predictable.
So, I'm sure you have seen a lot of movies. What do you say about audience?
Um, I think it's interesting to look at audiences and critics because you get audiences tend to like things more than critics will. So it's always kind of interesting. The movies that the critics love, the audience usually hates. And then the opposite is true. So the movies that the audiences love, the critics technically hate. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic to see. Um, but I would want to have an audience that enjoyed the experience. I think a movie is you go to a movie because you want to get away for 2 hours from your life. So going and seeing a movie is going to allow you to have that escapism for 2 hours. And I think that's why movies are important.
What is the difference between book readers and audience?
I think for a book reader, they are looking for things that you can't, since it's not a visual medium, you have to get the book reader to the same position that you would a moviegoer. A moviegoer, because they can see everything on screen, they don't have to imagine the emotions that the characters are having. They don't have to think about that. They don't have to invest the time. So you need to get a book reader to that same level by using the phrasing and the words in your novel so that they can see those things, so that they can see that and feel those emotions. And I think also you get book readers might get a little bit more obsessed with things. When you look at book readers going into seeing like their favorite novel being made into a movie, you'll see the movie get picked apart a lot by the book readers, because they'll be saying, "Oh, well, they didn't include this. They didn't include this. They didn't include this," and to the average audience member who maybe hadn't read the book, they're enjoying it because it still told a story. It still got them to where they needed to be, with those characters and everything like that. So it'd be nice to kind of have, I think, maybe not so much a obsession for book lovers, book readers, um, because going into a movie, you can't always include every single thing. Your movie's already 7 hours long, and nobody wants to sit there for 7 hours and watch a movie. So
You're creating visuals and sending it to their minds, and you're framing sentences using the words and sending into their minds. And one is the visual thing that you're sending, and other thing is you're creating visual with your words. Tell me this.
yes, I would agree with that.
Tell me this because you're both.
Oh, okay. It, like I said before, you want to, when you're writing, you want to use the same word, the words that are going to convey the emotions. Like I said before, if you put yelled, the audience is going to understand that the character is angry, that the character is stressed, or they are expressing their emotions through using their voice. Whereas and movies and screen, you can just you can just have somebody yell. So you don't, and then it's the same concept, because they know then, they can see their face, they can see their reaction that's happening. Whereas in the book, you have to really get that visual mindset to the reader to get them to see those things. So
On both the platforms, you're trying to create an impact
mm-hmm.
with your expression.
Yes.
Which one is better, and which one is working presently?
I think both work in their own way. You know, and you have to go about them in different venues. I do think, visually people are going to see things easier and understand them easier. But it is still satisfying to get somebody to see it, in their mind's eye when they're reading the book. But I would say yes, film or theater, especially live theater, if you're close enough, you're going to see the reactions. You're going to see the things that they do. You're going to see the small muscle movements of the face, and especially, or if you're in close up in a film, you're going to see those same kind of things. So you get um, so you can visually see things, and it's going to be easier to see them that way.
As a director, you tell me, is that possible to catch the eyeball of the person who is watching your movie and draw the attention of the eyes for 2 hours or 1.5 hour, whatever the movie length is? Is that possible?
Um, I think it's becoming more difficult now, due to the advancement that we have with technology and especially smartphones, and um, because you'll go into a theater now and you'll see a lot of people still on their phones while the movie's playing. So I think it is harder now, but I think it still can be possible. And it's using the visuals, it's using sound, it's using um, characters and what they're saying and things like that. So yes, I do think it's possible, um, but you just need to work to get that all of the elements to combine together to get everything to work.
And also, is that possible for a particular story to send into majority of the brains?
I believe so. Yes. When you look at movies, especially popular movies, um, you'll see the discourse that people are having. Once the movie is out and they're talking about it still, and it might be eh, if they're still talking about it 6 months to a year later, that's still like in their minds. It's still fresh. It's still working. So that I think is helpful because then, especially if it's a series or or as a director, if you're making multiple movies, you then get them to think about it more, and you get them to think about it and in a way that um, joins the zeitgeist, joins the collective understanding of and communication, through the community.
Is there any movie in your life that you watched and you felt like, why this is made like this? Why can't everybody do like this?
Um, Maybe not. Why can't everybody do like this? But I did see Tree of Life several years ago, and I completely found it too far to be avant-garde, too far out there. Um, it didn't seem to have a good collective story to it. It didn't seem to have a here's point A, here's point B, here's point C. To me, it felt like it was just a collection of random imagery and sounds that just didn't flow in a way that made sense.
So, what is the thing that you continuously learn as a director whenever you watch a movie or any kind of a visual?
I'd say something I continuously learn is that you want to get to that visual, you want to get to that storyline as quick as possible. Um, you don't want to lollygag with other storylines and things like that. You want to make sure that you are hitting the point that you need to hit quickly, um, because if you don't, you're going to lose your audience. You're going to lose the people that you need to continue to come to see your movie so that you can continue to make movies.
So, what visual that you wanted to create and which is in your mind and which you want to start immediately?
Um, there was a play that I read a few years ago. It's called The Hubble Constant, and I'd like to turn that eventually into a movie. It was about these brothers who escape their kind of abusive home life, and they go in basically into a home that's not their home. That's they find this random person and they kind of get adopted, and but they bring their own abuses from their own home life into this new place, in this new home. So it's kind of an interesting look at again the dark kind of underbelly of human existence, and how they are perceived because of the issues that they brought from their previous lives. So I definitely would like to make that someday. And um, it's based in Chicago, which is where I'm close to. I'm about an hour away from Chicago, so I'd love to make that in that city and make it come to life through using the architecture and the buildings and things that are in Chicago that I know. So
So you're a clerk and you're into writing and you're a director,
mhm.
and because there are different characters in your life. Can I call can I call your life as a movie and all these three as a characters?
Yeah, I think you have certainly acts in your life that tell your story. You have adolescence, you have teenagehood, you have adulthood, and then older adulthood. So you can definitely say, um, it is like a film, because you do have those occurring moments that happen that make you go to the next thing. Um, and then, yeah, there's definitely some characters that in your life, you get different people that teach you different things, and um, you get to learn and experience those different ideas by talking to people and by being open to them.
So when this movie is coming out and what is the name of this movie?
Um, I'm not sure yet. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
And the technicalities, what do you talk about the technicalities? Because the technology is changing, the mediums are where the movies are being placed are changing. So as an observer, what do you say about this?
um, I think it's always good to look at new technology and see how you can use it in any medium. Um, so I definitely think that's you don't want to be stuck in the past and just doing the same thing. So it's always good to be open to change and be open to learning new things. I will say that sometimes, though, it is kind of interesting to see a movie done in kind of an older style. There was a movie a few years ago called Super 8, and they used a lot of, or they made it look almost like it was shot on 8 millimeter film, which was the film from pretty much the 60s and 70s and the early 50s. So it was kind of interesting to see how they took um, technology and kind of made it retro.
What is your age?
I'm 32.
So in 32, what you have learned?
Well, I've learned a lot. You know, every day you go out and you try to learn something new and you try to do something different. Um, when I started writing, like I said, about 5 years ago, I had no clue as to how to really form, a character or really form a story together. And I think, over the last 5 years or so, I've really picked those kind of things up. I've learned better how to do those things. I've learned better how to market myself, market my product. I've learned how to interact with other people, especially authors, other directors, other things like that. So, then those are all valuable skills. Those are all valuable things that, over time that I've picked up and worked on and things like that.
Your senses are good in observing?
I feel so, yes. I typically, if I'm at a party, I'm kind of in the corner watching everybody, watching the interactions, watching the things that are going on. And I find that interesting. I find that relevant then to using into my stories and to writing and directing, is watching those interactions in the everyday life and then putting them towards writing or towards directing.
When you wake up in the morning, what is the story that runs in your mind and that you cannot create as a movie?
Usually when I'm waking up in the morning, I'm probably not thinking about stories so much. I'm probably thinking more about, crap, I'm late, I need to get to work. But I think having I think the story that I'm working on right now, the work in progress I'm working on right now, which is about two young men that start a relationship because they met at a party. So I'm usually thinking about that. I'm usually thinking about what's the next thing I got to write with that. But as far as a movie, or a movie that I couldn't make, I guess, like I said, the basic getting up and getting ready to go, because I feel like that's been done before. Everybody knows that scenario. Everybody knows getting up and going to work. So it's not like it's a avenue that I think would be very interesting to see.
So, as a keen observer, the reality is imagination, or just imagination is reality? Or there is imagination, or there is no reality? Everything is imagination.
Um, I wouldn't say that. I think there is reality all around us, but we make imagination make it better. We have that so that it's not a just dull reality. We can make things feel better for us and make things seem like it's a better reality than it might actually be.
Why only few imaginations are going into a lot of brains in the world?
Um, I think it might have to do with resources people have. And then what I mean by that is that if you're struggling to make your basic needs that you need to make, you don't have the time to imagine other things. Imagine things beyond what you have. Um, so I think that plays into it. I think if you can get to your basic needs met, and then you can start moving into more other avenues for imagination, for learning, for everything like those. But that's not to say that I don't think anybody couldn't have a good imagination. I don't think that's. I think everybody has that opportunity. Everybody has that potential. Um, but as I said before, if you're not meeting your basic needs, then you're not going to want to devote too much time to other things, like trying to get trying to imagine a better world.
What are the things that are going to change because of you, because of your presence on this planet?
Um, I would hope that we could get more people into a better position where they could um, see themselves in film or see themselves in a book and feel that they are being represented, um, and get enough people, like I said, get them to their basic needs being met so that they could branch out and see and do more things and be more imaginative. And but I don't have a good answer of how to get to that point. That's something that's, I think, a problem, that we need to look at through the entirety of the world. And as the human race, we need to come at a collective and say, okay, we need to get everybody, X. We need to get everybody X, Y, and Z, and then, we'll see more creative things. We'll see more people trying to get into writing or directing or things of like that, and we'll see more stories being told if we can get to those, basic things first.
What is impact? What How you are going to create impact with the words that you have and the visuals that you have in your mind? How you are going to create impact? And creating impact means telling what they are expecting, or telling what you want to say.
I think impact is telling what you want to say. Um, and I think we do that by um, being open to other people, being open to other experiences, being open to learning new things, and seeing how we can um, continue to push those forward, continue to um, have those be expressed by uh, other individuals and myself, and then using a visual medium or using my words to affect anybody, politicians, teachers, people that are engineers, scientists, getting them all to see something and say, yes, that is something that we need to work on. Yes, that is something that we need to move forward with. And I don't know if I'm at that point yet, but eventually I would like to be.
So, what do you think that is working for you and that is driving you and making things happen?
I think what's working for me is just that I see that I want to do this. I see that I want to do these things in my life. I have seen that, other people have gotten success from doing, from writing or from directing and things like that. So I think that's part of it too. Is I want to be seen as being successful. Um, so I think that's what kind of drives me. Is it's just like I said, I want to be successful. I want to be seen as that way. So
So, as a observer, what do you say about the content that I am creating? Me talking with different people. I'm sure you have seen my videos on YouTube.
I think it's a really good way to share people's ideas and share people's thoughts. I like that you have good, insightful questions that you're asking people. I mean, we've had a very good conversation today, um, so it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely great to kind of get different perspectives of where people are in their own lives and where you're going in yours. Um, I'm sure you're using these to help yourself and help further your career. So I definitely think that's going to impact other people. They're going to see your videos and they might say, oh well, I could do that. uh, I could get people to interview and things like that. So I think you could have a positive influence on your own community and people on YouTube and things like that. So, and I appreciate that you we're taking the time to do this today because it also does help me. It gets my name out there a little bit more. It gets people to understand who I am, and so I do appreciate that as well.
So at last, there will be a lot of people who will be watching this video from different parts of the world. So do you have
Mm-hmm.
anything to say?
Um, well, I'd like to thank anyone that does view the video. I appreciate you taking your time, and if you'd like more information, as I said, my books are on Amazon. So right now you can get those. You can follow me on social media. And I definitely love interacting with people from all over the world. I definitely, I think it's a great learning opportunity to understand how they, how they view their own life and how they view, the world around them. And so it's great to share those kind of stories.
There will be producers who will be watching this video. So do you have anything to say to them?
Again, just thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate you taking the time, and I hope that I sparked some kind of interest for you. And I like I said before, I definitely would love to learn more, and if you want to talk, I'd love to talk and get to get to experience your get to hear your story.
Can I put this audio and this video clip on my YouTube and my social media, on internet, on podcast, everywhere with your permission?
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. I'll contact you in future again when you create something great and when you make something change.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, thank you very much for having me.
So thanks. Keep going, keep doing what you love, and be healthy.
All right, thank you very much.
Take care.
Mm-hmm.